Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Comparative Geopolitics. Today I'm going to be talking about the double standard of the Muslims in northern Nigeria. They are very loud when they criticize Israel over Gaza, but they are silent when their kings and kindred commit genocide on non-Muslims and moderate Muslims in Nigeria. We had series of protests about Israel over Gaza. We had one in Lagos. We had another one in Ibadan. The Muslim sect there, they went to the street to protest, to show their solidarity to the people of Palestine. The Shia Muslims in northern Nigeria, they also protested when America and Israel attacked Iran. I'm not against people criticizing Israel. I also criticize Israel. And I also know Jews who also criticize Israel. But we have to be objective. We have to be very, very objective in our criticism. You don't criticize one side and then you leave the other. So the Muslims in northern Nigeria, they only protest when Israel is attacking someone in the Middle East. But if their kings and kindred kill people in Nigeria, you don't see them on the street. That is what I'm going to address in this video. I will show some examples and I will be commenting. Like recently, I think in 2025, the Vice President of Nigeria, he went to the UN General Assembly and he didn't miss the opportunity to criticize Israel.
Toxic rhetoric of hate. Our difference is the distance between shadow and light, between despair and hope, between the ruin of anarchy and the promise of order. We do not only fight wars, we pit and shelter the innocent victims of war. This is why we are not indifferent to the devastations of our neighbors near and distant. This is why we speak of the violence and aggression visited upon innocent civilians in Gaza, the illegal attack on Qatar.
But I would love to tell you something about this Vice President in the person of Kashim Shettima. He was governor of Borno State, Nigeria, that is northeast Nigeria, before he became the Vice President. Something of historical significance happened when he was governor of Borno State. If you follow politics in Nigeria, you know there was a time in Nigeria that over 200 schoolgirls, mostly Christians, were taken by terrorists from a school in Chibok into the bush. A significant number of those girls who came back from the bush, they came back with pregnancy. You cannot say that they gave consent to have that sexual experience with the terrorist. What happened before those girls were taken was equally important. Kashim Shettima, being the governor of the state that time, he was the chief security officer of that state. Before WAEC were about to conduct their exam, they told him about security. He said they shouldn't talk. He assured them that security was okay, only for them to try to administer exams, and then these girls were taken by terrorists. There was a report in Premier Times written by one Talatu Usman about this particular thing. I'm telling you. I'm going to show the clip now for you to see. Another thing happened after those girls were taken. Kashim Shettima, being the chief security officer of the state, was supposed to contact the president, Goodluck Jonathan, to inform him that this is what had happened. But Kashim Shettima said he didn't call the president to tell him because he thought the security officials in the state had already told him. So he kept quiet, and those girls were taken away. Today, he is the one criticizing Israel over Gaza. You see the double standard I was telling you? You see the double standard? So that is Christian Shettima for you, the Vice President of Nigeria. And you want insecurity to end? In fact, recently there was a time he came out to deny affiliation with these Boko Haram terrorists because there was a picture circulating on social media where it was said that he hosted them or had a meeting with them. And you want insecurity to end in Nigeria. He denied it anyway. That is how politicians behave. Then there was a case whereby the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory in the person of Nyesom Wike
FCT as a capital of Nigeria. I've been in your country now for a year and a half. So
hosted the Israeli ambassador to Nigeria. Created a lot of tension in the Muslim world in northern Nigeria. This popular sheikh that usually advocate for terrorists, defending them and saying they should grant them amnesty, that the terrorists are their brothers, they are going nowhere. He was very furious, and there was a report on the cable saying that he called Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, devilish for hosting Israeli ambassador to Nigeria. But when one of them was there, they were hosting people from UAE, they were hosting people from other parts of the world. Nobody complained. But because a Christian went there and hosted Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, it became a problem. So there is a sense in which the Muslims in northern Nigeria, especially the Fulanis and the Kanuris, they think they own the country. If they don't like something, you shouldn't do it. But they are allowed to do whatever they want. No one can question them. We've had series of protests also over Gaza. The Muslim sect in Lagos, they
adults, raping of women, violation of human rights, such as freedom of worship and freedom of association. The
protested over Israel, over the attack by Israel on Gaza. We had another group in Ibadan, Oyo State. They also protested that the Israelis are killing the Palestinians. When America and Israel attacked Iran, the Shiites in northern Nigeria, they also had a protest. But whenever their kings and kindred who are terrorists in Nigeria, they commit genocide against other tribes, against non-Muslims, they are silent as anything. That is the double standard. But the purpose of this video I'm doing is just to remind Africans that there is a sense in which we know our history, that the Arab people that we prefer to our own brothers and sisters, African brothers and sisters, will never see us as their equal. I'm saying this because the Muslims in northern Nigeria, they will rather welcome someone from Saudi Arabia, someone from North Africa, these Arabs, they will rather welcome that person than their own brothers and sisters who are even living with them in the same society. But they forgot what the Arabs did to their ancestors during the slave trade, the Arabian slave trade, what is known as the Trans-Saharan slave trade, whereby the Arab enslavers, they were castrating African slaves, making it impossible for Africans to reproduce their kind. They feared African men also sleeping with their wives and their women, so they had to castrate them. These are horrible things. You know, Africans, and one funny thing in the Muslim world in northern Nigeria is that they love to teach their people to hate Europeans, but they never talk about the Arabs that also enslaved Africans and were even more horrible than even white people. So I'm just giving this historical context so that any Muslim who is watching me from northern Nigeria will know that the hatred he has got for his brothers and sisters, African brothers and sisters, is born out of ignorance. Religion was just a tool to colonize you. And the people you prefer to your own African brothers and sisters will never accept you as their equal. I was having this conversation when I was at the University of Jos. with some group of Muslims. One of them became very furious. He had to be restrained by his brother, who told him that what this guy is saying is the truth. Forget the fact that he's not a Muslim. My father has been to the Middle East and he told me exactly the same thing. That young man is right. The Arabs will never accept you as their equal, even though you practice Islam. Let me give you one example. If you go to Sudan today, the war that is happening in Sudan today, the Rapid Support Force, which is a local militia that is fighting the legitimate government of Sudan, they committed genocide against black people who are living in the Darfur region. That genocide, the legitimate government of Sudan is accusing the United Arab Emirates of sponsoring that genocide. And the people that were killing the black Africans in that Darfur region were Arabs. There was one video shared by BBC whereby one of the militia, the RSF, that is a Rapid Support Force, was telling those with black skin in the Darfur region that there shall be no black skin in this region. And then they dug a big grave, and they were doing a mass burial for them. They order you to enter the hole that they are dug, then they shoot you. That was how they were killing black people, the Arabs. And these, all of them are Muslim, but they hate the black skin. So I believe one day, is my prayer that one day the Muslims in northern Nigeria, their brain will open and they will see that where this religion came from, these people don't like them and they will never see them as their equal. I believe that one day their eyes will open. I was reading a book by Matthew Ashimolowo, that pastor. The title of the book was What is Wrong with Being Black? This thing I'm saying about the Arabs castrating African slaves was captured there. If you read the book by Anta Sheikh Diop of Senegal, the record is also there. So people had written extensively about the trans-Saharan slave trade and what happened to African slaves in the Arabia. The Arabs were castrating Africans. I believe that one day the Muslims in Africa with black skin who kill and slaughter their own African brothers and sisters because of the differences in ideology, one day they will come back to their senses and know who their real enemies are. We have no sense of history in that part of the world. Illiteracy reigns supreme. When people say they have education, they go to school, they go to Islamic school, this and that. No, education is not just about going to the classroom. To be educated, after all, is to have a questioning attitude. Is to think, analyze situations critically, have the fact, the evidence on ground, and then make your own conclusion. Deductive reasoning. That is what education is all about. So it is my prayer that one day our Muslim brothers in the north, all over Africa, will value their own Africanness first before religious ideology. Because those that brought this religion to us will never accept us as their equal. The same could be said of the Christians. Extremism also in Christianity. There is so much division, especially among the Protestant movement, where somebody who attends a particular church, a member of one denomination, will say, oh, this person that is coming from this denomination to show interest in me, I'm not going to marry that person because he or she is not a member of my church. Or one will tell another one, you have to leave your church and come to my own before marriage could take place. That is extremism. If you study history very well, you will agree with me that if the Christians are given independence today in Nigeria, they will also fight themselves. The same thing, it happened in Europe. The Protestant people in Ireland were fighting against the Catholic in Ireland. It was a serious conflict. British government had to intervene and separate the two. The Northern Ireland that is dominated by the Protestant people, Britain had to separate them from the Catholics, and then they made Northern Ireland part of United Kingdom. And the other half becomes the Republic of Ireland that we see today. That is what extremism can do. When we close our minds to reason, when we become dogmatic and follow the dictates of other people without thinking rationally like human beings. Nowhere in the world is illiteracy more prevalent than in northern Nigeria. So, those of you Muslims in northern Nigeria and in other parts of Nigeria, you love the Arabs more than you love your brothers and sisters, African brothers and sisters. But I want you to understand that they will never accept you as their equal. And you need to tone down on that extremism because it's pulling you backward. You accept weapons from foreigners to destabilize your own country, tear down your own country in the name of religion. You look at your own African brother or sister, you call that person an infidel. You are so full of hate for that person. And what do you do next? That ideology that came from the Middle East, you kill your African brother because of that ideology. And where this ideology came from, the people that originated this ideology will never accept you as their equal. That shows something is wrong with you upstairs. So, as you criticize Israel, and rightly so, I also criticize Israel. I don't want anybody to say this guy is an Israeli apologist. Have the same courage to also criticize your brothers and sisters who are committing genocide in Nigeria. The terrorists amongst you that are tearing down Nigeria, be objective in your criticism of them. That is when I will know that you are serious. It is not my desire to prolong this video any further. So thank you very much. I hope you learned something from this video. This is just for educational purposes. If you don't understand some of this history, at least you have learned one or two. Thank you very much, and I will see you again.